Hello my friends, welcome back to an episode of r/ProRevenge, where you guys come to hear stories about people getting their just desserts. Guys, today's episode is one story about OP getting some pro-revenge on a pyramid scheme scammer. So I came up on this story that was posted 3 years ago, and when I read it, so many feelings and memories came back from the time that I was unfortunately sucked into one of these multi-level marketing businesses called Amway. So at the end of OP's revenge story, if you guys want to stay and hear my cult-like experience, and it was definitely a cult-like experience, just stay and listen, guys. I hope you guys stay for the whole video today, and please do hit that subscribe button for future stories. This story is by user drunken_black_belt, and it's titled, Pyramid Scheme Scammer Ends Up Paying in the End. About 6 or 7 years ago, I was trying to enlist into the military. I ended up not joining, but that's a story for another time. At this point, I was led to believe that I was about 4 months away from leaving for boot camp. I was running out of savings and needed a part-time job for some spending cash while I waited around. So I did what any enterprising 20-something would do, and searched Craigslist for jobs. I normally hated sales jobs, especially those based on commissions, but I figured it would be a great way to earn some extra cash short term. I found a few job listings that looked promising and put out some applications. A few days later, I received a call from David. He was opening up a new store and needed associates. He liked my resume and asked if I'd be available for an interview on Friday morning. I was very upfront with him and let him know that the distance was a bit more than I'd normally drive for a retail job, and asked what he was offering for an hourly rate, to see if it was worth the drive. He told me they were planning on offering an hourly rate in the mid-teens along with commission. It seemed like an okay deal, so I agreed to be there Friday at 8 a.m. Friday arrives as a cold, rainy day. I wear a nice shirt and tie, and drive in heavy traffic to the address David provided. I knew the area from a previous job, and eventually found the strip mall I was looking for. However, I'm not seeing any signage for the company name that was listed. There is, however, one empty space with no signage and 2 people inside. Okay, maybe they haven't gotten the store sign up yet. No big deal. While in my car, I witnessed a young lady in business casual dress remove a sign from the window stating, "Retail space for rent. Call 1-800 blah blah blah." Okay, that's a little weird, but maybe it's their first day in the space. I give them the benefit of the doubt. I walk in about 5 minutes early, and immediately my BS meter goes from the lowest to the highest level. The tables are all simple plastic folding tables, the kind that college kids would buy for beer pong while on a shopping trip to Target. The walls were plastered with laminated charts featuring tons of dollar signs, smiling faces from stock photos, and an organizational chart showing an all too familiar shape. A pyramid. God damn it. Alright, I might as well have some fun for a while, to wait out the traffic going home. The young lady in the dress approaches me, introducing herself as Cindy. She welcomed me to the company name and asked me to have a seat. She sat at her desk, which was another plastic table, and proceeded to go through paperwork. However, she was really just shuffling papers around. We get to chatting, and I ask her how long she's worked for David. She says she's been his secretary for about 6 months, and that I'm gonna love it here. Eventually, a guy walks out of his back office, early 30s, clean cut, wearing an ill-fitted suit from JCPenney. As he's walking over, all smiles, Cindy says, "Oh, Dennis, our newest recruit is here." The guy stops in his tracks and gives her a cold stare and says, "It's David, Cindy, we've been over this." He turns back to me and gives me his brightest, hard to find good help these days smile. David sits me down and welcomes me, saying they're gonna start with a group interview and has me sit down in a circle of chairs. Eventually more people come in and sit down. David gets up and begins to thank us all for coming. He tells us about an exciting new opportunity from Cutco. He pulls out a set of knives and explains how with this company, we can make as much money as we want, all while setting our own hours. He even pulls out a textbook, saying how their companies have revolutionary tactics that have been featured in college textbooks. He opened to a page, his hand covering parts of it, making sure we can all clearly see the words Cutco in large letters on the page. Sad to say, a lot of the other interviewees were impressed by this. One pregnant girl seemed very excited that she could work around her pregnancy and upcoming birth. David was going on and on about how much money he's made and how hard workers will rise to the top quickly, how you can retire in 3 years with very hard work, etc. At this point, David said he needed to take a quick phone call and gave us 5 minutes to have some coffee, chit-chat, or whatever. As he stepped away, he left his college textbook behind, so I pick it up and find the earmarked page and read. As I thought, it was all about pyramid schemes, and it had Cutco as one of the largest examples. It goes on to talk about how these are essentially scams, not economically viable, etc. So I decide to share this all with the group. I explained how pyramid schemes work, and how he's just scamming us. They seemed incredulous, so I said when David gets back to ask him about what we need to pay to get started, and that finally got everyone to realize what was going on. David walks in a few minutes later, and one of the girls in the group asked David what we needed to get started. And David says, "Well, all you need is your first set of knives to demonstrate. You can sell that one directly, or have them order one, and we'll keep that as your demo kit. Doesn't matter. You just have to pay the startup fees for it." And that's when all hell broke loose. One kid started to get up, saying he's wasting our time and he's a douche for trying to pull this. The pregnant girl's crying because she thought she found a place that would allow her to work, despite being pregnant. David is clearly confused and flustered, and asking who told them all of this. When it becomes apparent that I'm the wrench in the machine, David gets upset and starts telling me to leave. People are yelling at David, David's yelling at me, and Cindy is trying to tell everyone she's never met David before today and didn't even know what this was. Eventually, we all walk out, leaving David behind. As I'm walking to the door, I see leaning against the wall the sign that was in the window before. Retail space for rent. Call 1-800 blah blah blah. As I get in my car, I dial the number. Eventually, I get through to a person and ask about the property for rent at the location of David's company. The nice lady on the phone apologized, saying they had just leased that property out. I asked if she knew how long the lease was for, as I was really interested in the property. She said she wasn't sure, as they hadn't done the official paperwork yet. They were on their way to the space to sign everything with the leaseholder in a few hours. I told her everything that had just happened to me, and about David using the space for a pyramid scheme. She got extremely upset, saying that this stuff happens all the time in the industry, how people will go to sign last minute, and the leaseholder will decide to opt out, after using it for some fly-by-night operation. She thanked me for the info, and I thought that was the end of that. Or so I thought. A few weeks later, I received an email from David, telling me how I ruined his life, about how his property management found out what was going on and weren't refunding his down payment on the space, saying he violated a clause in the paperwork he signed to hold the property. He said he knew that I was the one who called because I'm a terrible human being, etc. Now he was out thousands for the space and supplies, how he only wanted to give us jobs and help us. It was a long and very angry email with several things said about me and my mother. So I called 1-800 blah 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 again and spoke with the same lady I did before, and she was very interested in an email from David where he essentially admitted what he was trying to do. She said it would help them in all the legal proceedings, and I was more than happy to send that email along to her. Her lawyer said it should be an open and shut case at that point, and I'd like to think I'm a helper. I hope you guys enjoyed that story of how OP got some revenge on a guy that's trying to prey on people. Okay guys, story time from the fluff about the time where I was sucked into a pyramid scheme. Well, not a pyramid scheme, a multi-level marketing business is what they like to call it. Yeah, back when I was 18 years old, I actually got sucked into a multi-level marketing business called Amway, or as my friends and many people call it, Scamway. Now, before I get into my little story, yes, it's possible to make money being an Amway selling their products, etc. And there's so many people who make money, so don't get me wrong. It's not 100% a scam, And I'm not bashing the business at all. I'm also not accusing them of being a pyramid scheme. I'm only about to tell you guys what my personal experience was. So with my little disclaimer aside, so that nobody from Amway comes after me, let's get into my personal experience with them years and years ago. So, as I said, when I was 18 years old, I was pretty much sucked into a quote-unquote business opportunity one day while I was sitting at a Starbucks having a coffee and killing some time. Just so you guys know, the places of choice for these multi-level marketers or recruiters are coffee shops, and they love to prey on people who are young, naive adults who haven't quite figured out their life yet. I can't speak for all multi-level marketing businesses, but I know with Amway and World Financial Group, they'll usually approach you wearing a business suit, and they'll look super clean cut. Anyways, so I was sitting there sipping on my coffee, and a nice clean cut guy approached me, asked me how my day was, and just started talking to me all nice. And then he threw out that he was looking to start up a business, and were looking for potential people to join his business. And at first, I was like, hey man, this guy's pretty cool. What the heck does a clean-cut businessman want with me? I'm 18 at the time, I have no knowledge of anything, I have no money to invest, I have nothing. So what the heck does this guy want with me? And we ended up sitting for an hour talking. Basically, he was interviewing me, and at the end, he left his name and phone number and said he was going to call me to a business meeting later in the week. The whole time we were talking, he was like, yeah, I usually don't approach younger kids, but you know, you look like you have so much potential, and I'd love to mentor you and have you be able to make lots of money, live a lavish lifestyle, drive a nice car, etc., etc. And of course, guys, I'm freaking 18 years old. I had nothing. In my head, I was like, holy crap, a successful business guy wants to mentor me to get me to where he is. For sure I'm interested. So at that point, I was broke, I wanted money, I wanted that lavish lifestyle, I wanted the Instagram life, guys. So of course I was like, yeah, for sure, sign me up. I literally thought this man was a godsend, a freaking angel that just came down and decided to help poor little old me. But little did I know, I was in for a really wild ride. So he called me later that week and was like, okay, listen, so on Thursday, we're gonna meet at that Starbucks again, and you have got to wear a nice suit. And at the time, I didn't have a nice suit, so I had to scramble and go buy one. And Thursday rolls around, and I show up at Starbucks, and and he's there, and he's sitting with two other guys who are also very clean cut. And they basically sit me down and interview me. They made it seem like this business opportunity was only for specific people, like exclusive people, like really important people can join, and that I was one of the best candidates for them. But looking back in hindsight, and from being in Amway for months, I know that they were just making it seem like an exclusive group. You could literally bring your grandma or like anybody that doesn't even know the language in, and they can be recruited into this business. Anyways, at Starbucks, they then gave me an ultimatum. They were like, are you in or are you not in? Do you want to make this money or you not want to make money? You want to be poor forever? And of course I was like, no, I don't want to be poor. Like you guys seem to know what you're doing. You're dressing nice. You know, you look like you're making money. You look like you're successful. And you know, that was all a sham. Like they had nothing. And after they gave me that ultimatum, they asked me if I wanted to buy a starter kit to get in. And in my mind, I was like, why do I have to buy a starter kit for what? Like, you guys are starting a business and you need me to help sell some stuff, so why would I have to buy a starter kit? And the starter kit was $250. Okay, guys? And it was essentially to train my mind. That's what the guy said. The guy was like, okay, if you're going to be in our business, you need to spend this $250 to buy this kit. It's going to help you train your mind. That's what he said to me. He said, train your mind. So listen, guys, I was freaking dumb back then and so naive. I was just looking for money. okay? My family wasn't rich, and these guys were promising me retirement in 5 years. So of course I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do anything to get in this business. I'll pay $250 for this kit. And in the kit, guys, it contained a book by Robert Kiyosaki called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it had some CDs with motivational talks by Tony Robbins, Leslie Brown. It was basically a kit to train your mind, to brainwash you for success. And we'll get to that in a little bit. I don't want to drag this story out for an hour because I can literally talk about this experience for an hour, so I'm going to fast forward to the first meeting. So they told me that we have our first meeting the following Thursday and that I needed to dress up for it. They gave me this address, and when I drove there, the address was a rundown apartment building, and I'm not even kidding you. My first meeting that I had with these Amway people was in a freaking sketchy apartment building in someone's apartment. They crammed 30 people all sitting in folding chairs in the guy's apartment building, or in the guy's apartment room or whatever. So we all sat there, and then this couple were introduced. They were introduced, and apparently they were making $300,000 a year just sitting at home doing nothing. They're retired at 30 years old. They can do whatever they want. They can travel the world. And they gave this whole talk. They came out, and everybody treated these people like they were gods. They came out and gave this talk, and the whole time they were talking about money. They were like, you don't want to work the rest of your life. You want to join our business. In our business, you can sell all this stuff. You can make unlimited money. It's unlimited potential. And how a job stands for just over broke, how you don't want a job, how you can make money by joining us, by selling makeup, energy drinks, vitamins, etc. And they essentially talk about how their days were just getting up, spending time with their family, doing what they wanted, and they were really selling this lavish lifestyle. And everybody there was so excited. They were like, oh my God, I can live this life. If I join this, if I sell stuff, I can make this money, and in 5 years I can retire. They really pushed that retirement in 5 years. Like everybody there was like, hey, I'm going to retire in 5 years. I'm going to retire in 5 years. I'm going to retire in 5 years. And in my mind, I was like, okay, so this doesn't make sense. You're bringing in people that have no sales experience, right? That have never had any sales experience. And you're like, okay, you guys can sell stuff and you'll be able to retire in 5 years. And the whole time they were adamant about this not being a pyramid scheme. It got really weird because during that meeting, they were like, if you bring 5 people, if everybody in this room, okay, brings 5 people in, and your 5 people bring another 5 people into the Amway, you can make $100,000 a year doing nothing. Let me explain how that works, guys. In Amway, no matter what they tell you, you don't become rich selling their products and earning a commission. It doesn't work like that. Okay, trust me. They're always like, oh, we have hundreds of products for you to sell and make money. You can sell energy drinks, you can sell makeup, you can sell toiletries, you can sell vitamins, supplements, etc. And yes, you can sell that, but the truth is nobody's going to buy it from you. When I was in Amway, they wanted me to try to sell like whatever I wanted to sell, like toothpaste, energy drinks, and honestly, nobody buys that stuff. Amway sells their products. Like you have to buy it from Amway at such a high cost. Like toothpaste will be like $5, okay? And then you have to mark it up to try to sell it. So in the end, you're trying to sell it for like $6-7. And nobody's gonna buy that no-name stuff when you can go to the grocery store and buy Colgate toothpaste for like $2, okay? So yeah, you can see how you're not gonna make money selling their products. So the way you make money in Amway is you make money by recruiting people. So the people that you bring in, you recruit them, and when they buy products to try to sell, you get some of that commission off of what they buy. And that's how it works. So the hundreds of dollars of products that I bought and tried to sell, the guy who recruited me, the guy who said he was my mentor, he takes a cut of that, which brings me to the number one rule in Amway that everybody pushed. You should only use their products. I was told by my mentor that if I'm in this business, I should only be using Amway products, to be loyal to the company that's making me money to try to get me retired. But in reality, he was basically telling me to use their products all the time so he can get a steady paycheck coming in like every month of me buying products. And yeah, that's how it works. So I ended up being in Amway for 6 months, which is 5 months and 29 days too long if you ask me. After being in Amway for that long, I realized so many things. The people that were trying to recruit me, like everybody around me, was essentially trying to brainwash me. It was like a cult. They started telling me to only hang out with people you meet at these meetings because they all want the same things as you do. Everybody in my life should be cut out. That's what my mentor told me. He's like, yeah, cut out everybody else in your life because they don't want the same things you do. Yeah, so he was like, yeah, only hang out with people in these meetings, okay? Because the other people don't have the vision of success, and they're all essentially losers. He literally called them losers. And then another rule in Amway was to never ever talk to anybody about how much money you're making. That was another rule, to keep quiet. We were never allowed to go to these meetings and be like, oh, hey Jake, how much money are you making selling these products? And the big reason they say that is because nobody is making any freaking money. So we all sat aside one day at one of these meetings, like after the meeting, because I became good friends with a few guys. And I was like, guys, let's be honest. Are you making money? And they're like, no, we aren't. And if you ask anybody in Amway why they're not succeeding, they'll tell you that the reason is you don't want it bad enough. You don't want it bad enough. You're not working hard enough. That's why you're not making money. You're a loser. You don't want success. You need to keep trying. You don't give up. So they say that. They say what they can to try to keep you in. So you keep buying products to keep trying to sell and to try to make the person who recruited you money. So the biggest mistake in my life was telling my recruiter that I was quitting. I can get into it forever, but long story short, he spam called me, he texted me all the time, he called me a loser, he said I deserve to live a poor life, I don't deserve money, blah blah blah. And the funny thing is, the whole time he was acting rich and acting like he had this lifestyle, that he was gonna retire in 5 years, that nobody knew what his job was. He was working full time as a bartender at a nightclub. So he essentially wasn't even making any money either. So yeah, that was pretty much my experience being in Amway. And like I said, I'm not bashing it. I'm just giving you my personal experience. And what's funny is those guys that recruited me, the guy that recruited me, he's not even a part of the business anymore. So I'm pretty sure everybody eventually just quits and realizes it's just a money pit. You're just basically burning your own money in there. Anyways, that's the end of this episode of r/ProRevenge / my experience with Amway. If you guys want to submit your own stories and don't have Reddit, my email link is down below in the description box. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future stories. And maybe I'll do an Amway part 2. I don't know. I got a lot to say. I'll see you guys in the next one.